I think the opposite of leadership is selfishness. I'd say 9 times out of 10, when somebody is upset about something, it is a misunderstanding or it is a combination of things and you're looking for the root of it. Avoiding those conflicts makes them worse.
Being a good leader, it's not about actually being perfect. Jason Haveman, COO.
Oh man.
InsITe Business Solutions. It's official. Finally, we got you the official title.
Got it.
You are a fantastic leader here. We're so thankful to have you not only on the podcast, but also as our leading staff member here at InsITe Business Solutions. And I think it's a really cool opportunity today to sit down and just talk about what it is to lead well through thick and thin, and then also through growing an organization. I think something that's so unique about InsITe and being in technology specifically is that technology changes so quickly. And so what that means is we have to be somewhat flexible in how we do things, both in process and then also in leadership as well.
For sure.
But we still have to drive consistency in leadership. And so, man, when I think about a consistent leader and somebody that leads well and that's empathetic, I naturally think about you. And so thanks so much for being here. I'm extremely excited to dive deep into just leadership strategy and consistent leadership and how you do it. I know you don't like this. For me, I'm going to treat you like the expert.
Excellent.
And so what we're going to do is just kind of have pretty natural conversation around some of the things that you've experienced here, some of the things that you've learned, some of the things that you're growing in, and then just give some thoughts and insights into how we can continue to grow as leaders and continue to lead well.
Love it.
So first thing I wanted to ask you is, I want you to finish this sentence. Leading in a growing organization is blank.
It's fun, honestly. Yeah,
Okay.
Difficult came to mind, but I think fun is really where I land, thinking through it a little bit more. I'll start, I guess, with why I discredited the difficult pretty quick, but just thinking through it, it is challenging because people like consistency and people like to know what's coming, right? And so in such a changing industry, it can be really difficult to forecast the next day, the next month, the next year, right? And that's kind of what you need to do in business.
Sure.
So, the leadership piece then follows that. It's like, wow, that is difficult. So I guess I didn't do a great job of discrediting why it's difficult, but I like the excitement of that difficulty,
the
change. Yep. It gives you something to constantly be working on. It gives you great resources. And being in IT, we're excellent Googlers. So I have found resources when I'm struggling with something to find options for trying different things, or even like role playing and stuff. Using AI today can be so valuable because it can give you the devil's advocate, or like, well, I thought this would be an easy conversation, or I thought this would be easy to lead through, but there's actually huge objections. And now I have them in my mind so I can overcome them.
Yeah. And I can imagine, especially in the changing industry that we're in as far as technology is concerned, that there are really fun things about change. And then there are also really difficult things about change too. So I think that makes sense to me why you would say, oh, fun and difficult.
Yeah. Yep.
You had an opportunity to kind of highlight some of the difficult things, which is, I mean, we're going to do more and more of that as we talk. But when you think of the most fun thing about leading in a quick changing environment, what is that fun thing?
I think the part that I like the most is just integral to me. My whole life, I've found just being genuine and caring has led me in my direction of leadership. And so that can work really well for like long-term leadership that doesn't have as much change. But when it is very fast paced, it works really well with people to just be like, this guy's consistent because he cares, and that's the consistency that he carries throughout. So I have found in a changing environment, IT specifically, just leading with heart and caring for people is really what is so fun because it's natural for me.
I think there are lots of leaders that are in your position that maybe tend to be a bit more, I wouldn't even say harsh, but just removed from people specifically. What do you think makes a difference for you in the way that you do care? Because I think that is something, and I think if you asked anybody in our organization or anybody, even our clients that have met you and had experience with you, that they would say, that man cares, right? What makes the difference for you?
I'm going to take it one step back and go to like early on in my career, back in the days of selling Best Buy services.
Perfect.
A leader I had there, he led via charisma, and I learned a lot, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. Look how powerful, and people want to do what he comes up with. But it has its own pitfalls. Like, it can work and charisma can be awesome for it. But I learned a lot about what the pros and cons were for that. But just a reoccurring thread in myself was realizing that the care is something that all people need, right? Like intelligence, there's moments that it's powerful. And I'd say a lot of them, right? In charisma, there's moments that's incredibly powerful. But the care piece, I think, is always something that's powerful for everybody.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that fully answers your question, but I have found that is a strength of it, that if you have care, people respond the best to that and need it right? On day to day, on the issues they're dealing with in their lives and in their jobs.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. I've heard you say before where you've said things like, hey, being a good leader, it's not about actually being perfect. And I think that's such a great way to look at leadership specifically, because I think oftentimes, as being a leader myself, where, you don't want your pitfalls to be exposed. You don't want to be in a position where you don't have the answer or things of that nature. Tell me about your experience in not being the perfect leader. And then also, how do you embody that imperfection and create vulnerability in it, I guess?
Yeah. I think the opposite of leadership is selfishness.
Okay.
And everybody has moments of selfishness.
Sure.
And so I think that's what makes a leader real, when you have those moments and you realize it and you can overcome them. And sometimes it requires an apology. And so looking into like examples of myself, I know I've let people down before where I didn't hear them fully because I'd made assumptions based off my understanding instead of actually listening and caring for them.
Sure.
And usually it was because of my mindset in that moment where I was like, I am tired from this week. I don't care in this moment because I have something else on my mind, a health thing, a family thing, whatever it is. And so I find that selfishness is what creeps in and creates a gap in my leadership.
Okay.
And so maybe it's a hot take, but I'm not saying I have to be selfless all the time, but being able to communicate that to people that care. And then when you fail, being able to step forward and be like, hey, this is why, right? Like I'm human and I fail and I have moments that I'm focused on myself instead of on you as the leader.
I think something that you bring to light is, hey, we're not all perfect, but I think even in that explanation in and of itself, as much as I love it, if somebody's watching this, they're going to be like, oh yeah, he's going to give you like the best answer because he's the perfect leader, right? So I'm going to dig a little bit deeper into that, because as humans and as people and leaders, like, we bring our own emotions into it. And I think you highlighted that with, hey, there's going to be a time where in that moment, I don't care because I'm dealing with my own things at home, or I have my own pressures that I'm dealing with at work, or I'm trying to, launch a whole new EOS system. And we're going to talk about that later too. But all of that to say, how do you navigate emotion along with leadership? You're trying to navigate your own emotion with other people's emotion at times, right?
It's a lot. Yeah. A book I read recently and reading through here still, I guess, is Crucial Conversations. And I feel like that's done a really good job of framing things that I partially understood, but has brought them to light in such a way that I was like, okay, here's how I can be more effective at it.
Okay.
And the piece that I guess I would pull from that for this specific example in conversation is around disarming, right? And being genuine in those moments. So yes, you've got to have a handle on yourself, but the book explains in that situation when you're in a crucial conversation, somebody comes to you and they're upset about something. They want to have a difficult conversation. Maybe they're angry about their job, about their pay, whatever it is. Taking that minute to recognize where you're at and if you're able to have that conversation or not. And that's the start. And sometimes it's not. And you have to say that and get to an exit in that moment. Say, I want to hear you out. but I'm not ready for that conversation because you might not be able to come to the table and help them.
Yeah.
If you can, and you can come into that and say, I can have that conversation. It's leading with that, giving them that trust and that understanding to say, like, I want to hear you and I'm trying to disarm this so we can have the real conversation. Because I'd say 9 times out of 10, when somebody is upset about something, it is a misunderstanding or it is a combination of things and you're looking for the root of it. Mm-hmm. And when a person feels those frustrations, it's usually because it's a jumbled mess of things and they don't even know what the root is.
Yeah.
So being able to talk through that with them and understand, what are you actually feeling, right? Is this about comp or your compensation, your salary, or is that a reach because you're trying to fill a hole or comfort yourself in a way because you're actually frustrated with your job that you feel stale and you've been in a role for a while and you don't know what's next for you and you've always had that drive to accomplish and grow and be promoted. Mm-hmm. And so if you can lift that rock and talk through that together, I think it again builds that trust.
Yeah.
So disarming and then being able to get into letting them know, like, this is a safe space, is a really crucial part of crucial conversations. That they say you need to make that space safe so you can actually work together and uncover the problem. It's like marriage counseling 101, right? Like us versus the problem, where it's easy to come into something and be like, they're upset with me and I need to be defensive, or I have my own things, I can't handle this. Mm-hmm. It's being able to reframe and say, like, I hear you and I want you to know I have your back. Let's figure this out together.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody that might be watching this and they're like, oh, yeah, this sounds really good, but kind of fluffy. And I don't really believe in this, like, disarming. And so let me give you an example. Mm-hmm. There is a culture in business specifically, and some of this you can take with a grain of salt. And I think there's like pendulums, right? You've got the people that are like, this is the thing that I hold tight to. And you've got the other people that are like, this is the thing I hold tight to. So one is, hey, be vision and mission minded in your organization.
Yep.
And you've got people that are like, you have to do it that way.
Yep.
And then you've got other people that are like, no, that's a cult, not a job, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got the other people that are like, the skill that I bring to this business is my own business. Mm-hmm. And so I need to advocate for myself and get as much as I can. And then but that in and of itself is a good way to be selfish and drive selfishness. Mm-hmm. And so, if you've got somebody, maybe that's more on this side of the argument. That's like, my skill set's my business and I'm going to get what I can for it and all of that stuff. What do you see that actually driving in people? And to be honest with you, like, I don't know that we have anybody like that on our team. So I just want to preface that for anybody on our team that might be watching.
Yep.
But I see that online specifically as people are talking about job hunting and jobs and stuff like that. What would your argument or what would your encouragement to that person be that's like, no, this is my skill set, this is my business, like, you're going to pay me the most for it and I'm just here for the paycheck? Yeah.
I mean, it's finding common ground. And the nice thing is, like, I have a big hand in all of our hiring and I have for the past almost 7 years. So fortunately, we, like you said, have a lot of people who are in it with us.
Yeah.
I've been in organizations like that where it is more like cutthroat, very for yourself.
Yeah.
And I found that environment wasn't a good fit for me because I like to try to push myself. This sounds like I'm saying I'm selfless, and I'm not. I am a very selfish person, like everyone is. But I
like
very
selfish.
I like to try to live in that world of like putting others first.
Yeah.
And so that's what I try to replicate with everyone around me. And so I have found in those cutthroat environments, they weren't a good fit for me because when I would invest in others, they would use that and pull the ladder up behind them in a lot of cases. And it was like, well, that's a bummer because we should be doing this together.
Yeah.
In your specific scenario, though, if I had somebody who was in that, I would go about it like trying to gain understanding for it, right? Yeah. Like, we have employees here who have different drives and in so many walks of life. And it's like understanding what their goals are is, I think, the core of that. And in some cases, it is financial. But there have been so many studies that have come out talking about what salary does and means for people. And generally, like, after a certain point of like your needs are met and you've got expenditures covered and you have a income that you can use on things that you want to as well, increases in salary usually aren't proportional with happiness. It has to do with other things. So it is finding out, like, again, lifting those rocks to understand, like, why is it you're looking for this? Are you not meeting certain needs? How can I help you with that? Some cases you'll find they're unhappy with something in their life and it had nothing to do with work. And that's just where they spend a lot of time. And so this is a reach to try to make things better on that side.
I think that's what actually makes you very unique, because you're kind of dancing around it. So I want to go around and just make the observation.
Yeah.
You spend so much time finding out about your people, leaders, whether they're in middle management or all the way down, to the person that is sweeping the floor. You are sitting down to find what is meaningful to them, and then meeting them there and saying, hey, is it partially salary? Yeah, probably it is. So let's talk about how we get you. We'll create a plan for you, how we get you to that spot. And then also at the same time, what is it that really is going to drive you to love your job? Like, be passionate about your job.
Absolutely. Yep.
And for me, I think that's what makes you such a great leader and so flexible in how you are able to deal with people, is that you're like, yeah, this person's angry, but it is not about necessarily what they think it's about. I want to know what's meaningful to them. And so somebody that's willing to sit down and say, hey, we need to have a conversation because I want to know what the hurt is, what the pain is. How can I facilitate success in it? Can I? Like, are you so hurt in this instance, or are you so, beyond like relationship in this instance where it's just time to be done? And if that's the case, that's okay too.
That happens. And that can be a really hard conversation, but let people build such walls about that one specifically that they're like, well, I can't say that I'm looking for another job because all of a sudden everything will be cut off and they're not going to care for me anymore. And I try to lead with that when I see those cases, when I'm understanding somebody and they're at a point where it's not a good fit for them anymore. I try to get to that conversation level to let them know, like, I'm still here caring for you.
I'm for you in it.
I'm for you in it. Exactly. Working through, like, how can I help you in your resume? How can I help you in your interviewing? How can I help you and coach you in your development so that you can find what it is you're looking for? And, over time, sometimes you lose great people because of that. But if they're ready to spread their wings and try something different, you have to be there for them. And that I think that's, again, it's that investment always, every day in people. And that's the only way you can get past those barriers, because when you do hit that, they are naturally going to look at the world and say, no one has done this for me before. This is scary. And I am going to lose some level of give from the company by saying I'm looking, but caring for them as an individual, right? Sometimes even just as simple as saying, like, I'm taking off business hat, Jason, and we're friend Jason, and let's talk because I want to help you with it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, cool. Let's shift gears a little bit and talk about emotion in general. I think something that leadership often has to entail is a certain amount of emotional intelligence, right? But what that doesn't mean is that you aren't emotional, right? And so I think one of the things that oftentimes come up in organizations or business is that level of emotion for leaders that needs to be controlled to a certain extent, right? And so I guess the question is, it doesn't mean that you don't feel the emotion. So I'm going to take anger specifically because anger is one that comes up often.
It is.
And anger comes when you feel blocked, right? I'm feeling blocked by something.
I'm frustrated with this. It makes me mad.
And so the question that I have is, what role does anger have in leadership or in business?
I think this is something I struggle with as a leader because I can become emotional. And I know in those situations, it can work to strengthen trust, but it can also weaken it. I've learned to train it into a catalyst for change. Anger can be a huge blocker for when you're upset. It is difficult to clear your thoughts. I'd say like sorrow is an easier one, or upset than anger. When I'm angry, it is difficult to recollect those thoughts and be like, okay, much less cuss words and much less upset. Let's take a minute to use that to say, why am I upset, and start digging through that. But similarly, it can be a really good flag for like, why is this happening? I need to uncover that, the catalyst again to let's get into why I'm upset or why that person's upset and trying to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a couple of things that as I was listening to you talk, that I really was thinking through. And I like what you had said, is that it becomes a catalyst for change for you, because what you're highlighting is the emotion isn't wrong or bad. In fact, it can be a very powerful tool for you, in that it becomes a red flag to you that something's wrong, whether it's sadness or anger. And really those, I think, are two very related emotions.
Yes.
To be able to say, okay, well, the sadness is either going to drive me to despair and for me to sit in my office and, it's going to be like a Michael Scott scenario where you're playing the bad or the song.
It's like a Charlie Brown. Yeah.
She's
sad
beautiful.
walking.
Or, for anger, it could be, hey, you're just building up resentment or anger towards that person or bitterness. But what you're saying is, hey, this is a red flag. And how do we use these emotions as motivators to be critical thinkers and constructive builders?
Yes.
And so I really appreciate that about you. And I see that in you. In fact, Angry Jason is one of my most favorite versions of Jason because you're the most honest version of yourself. And I love that. But what I've seen you do is harness that anger now and then be like, I'm going to adjust myself in my chair a little bit before I answer this.
Yes.
And then I'm going to answer it.
Yes.
Which is, it's fun to see you grow in that.
Angry
as well.
Jason is a fun time.
One of my most favorite versions.
I'm not proud of him ever. He does come out.
I'm proud of him sometimes. Yeah. No. And the reality of it is I think what's really important, whether you're a leader or you are leading in your organization, but not in a leadership position necessarily, is that I think it's, number one, emotions are natural. We should never shame over the emotion, but we should do something healthy with it. Let it be a red flag. Let it be a motivator. And then you, whether you're a leader or just leading, you can be the catalyst for change in it. And so I love that. I love that perspective. You had mentioned something about I'm avoidant in conflict.
Yeah.
And I would say you can have tendencies to be avoidant in conflict, but I'm seeing you drive to confrontation in a healthy way.
Yep.
And I've also heard you vocally drive teams to have more healthy conflict within their teams themselves.
Yep.
Where's that coming from, and why the push for something that's so uncomfortable for you?
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, modern age therapists today, like, it comes from my childhood, right? Like, that's where it started. And I remember a vivid memory of my parents arguing in the front seat of our Montana minivan, right? Of course, it was maroon or something, right? Like that.
Perfect.
And
it's got a beige bottom on it. I
sure
can
does.
see it. I can see
we all
it.
had one.
Yeah.
And I remember being so upset, and I yelled at them. And I was like, can you two get along? And I a child, like 6, right? And it was like, this upsets me. I don't like it. And I don't actually mean my trauma in my wake is from that, right? Just a joke. It's a good example of, I've just always been that way. It's very much part of who I am. And so knowing that and learning over time, though, that avoiding those conflicts makes them worse.
Yeah.
And so it is great to position myself to have less conflictual. Is that a word?
Conflictual. I like it.
Let's use it. Conflictual people in my life.
Less conflict.
Yeah, less conflict. Just people that tend towards less conflict and are easy at resolution, just easygoing people. I find I gravitate towards those because I'm that way too. I don't like those arguments whenever applicable. But they're going to happen. And if you avoid them, they stew, they become worse. And then it's no longer about talking through the frustration, the issue, the anger, whatever it is. It becomes this bomb that has to be diffused, where there's multifaceted alarms on it, right? That you're like, not only are you mad about salary, you're mad about a bonus, you're mad about PTO or flex time, and all of these things have now become this beast that it's really hard to work through and figure out, well, what's the root? Because there's so many things that have upset them. And some of that comes from poor communication.
Yeah.
And then it comes from avoiding those conversations.
Yeah.
And it's not just my responsibility, right? Like it's the responsibility of the person who's upset too, to be able to say like, hey, we're adults and humans and we have emotions, and let's figure out why I'm feeling this way together.
Yeah.
So some of it is just investing in those relationships so that you have a really low barrier of entry. So when somebody feels that way, they can come to you and say like, I don't feel right about that messaging from whatever it was. And you can work through it before it festers.
Yeah.
So I think that's the drive I've noticed over time through horrible tribulation, just getting to things that have blown up. And I'm like, now I really hate this and I want to be way away from it. So some of it's self-preservation. Like I want to deal with these conflicts before they escalate. But even when you get to the most escalated ones you can that are possible, it's like, I still want to solve this because I care.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I think if somebody's tuning in right now, they're thinking, okay, what is all of, this leadership and relational jargon that we've been talking about? What is this? What's the value of this in the organization, right? And what I think I want to bring out and really hone in on is consistency in leadership. Hey, you can have this confrontation, you can have this conflict, you can have these discussions that it actually leads to trust, right? And the consistency of trust in having, that conversation is kind of, that trust builder, and it creates consistency in knowing that, hey, that seemed out of Jason's character because he communicates to me what the reasoning was, right?
I've had people come to me and say that didn't sound like you. And I'm like, whoa, cool, let's talk, right?
And that doesn't sound like Jason.
Yep. And we all fail, right? Regularly. I feel like so much of this conversation has been so like flattering. You've said so many kind things, but I'm
not that kind.
Yeah. I'll tell you, I screw up every single day, right? We all do.
Yep.
And it's really putting it's the consistency piece. It's putting the foot forward again every time to be like, I'm going to keep investing in this.
Yeah.
And some of the harder times is when you overhear something, right? Like somebody's looking at leaving or they're upset with you. And it's like, I'm still going to put that foot forward to make sure like I'm investing in you.
Yeah.
Because that's the currency that we're exchanging is our relationship. And I'm going to keep investing in it.
Yeah. Yeah. That totally makes sense. Let's keep moving forward. Because I think there's more than just, emotional intelligence and driving towards conflict and resolving conflict and all of those things in leadership.
Yeah.
There's a piece that we can't miss, which is systems that drive consistency in leadership and good leadership, right? And making sure that we can communicate well with people and making sure that we are addressing issues on a systems level and all that stuff. You've been a huge proponent, and InsITe specifically has been a huge proponent for EOS.
Yeah.
And a lot of our manufacturing partners, they function off of EOS as well. And we've seen a lot of value in driving consistency, but also in a fast-paced organization, driving change. And so can you just breach into a bit of your experience with EOS? Where did it come from? Or I should say, where's the origin for InsITe and EOS? Tell me about the adoption of EOS and all the complexities that come with it.
Sure. This is a large topic.
I know.
So I think when I joined, I had some exposure to EOS previously.
What is EOS, by the way?
Entrepreneur Operating System.
Yeah, Entrepreneurial Operating Systems. Yeah.
And in short, I came in and Mike was like, hey, this is a thing I like and we do it loosely. And I looked and I was like, we don't do that at all. It was like, okay. So together we really had to work through like, hey, should we have pulse meetings? What are IDS? What are issues? What are IDSs? What are L10s? And digging through and saying like, what are the value of all these pieces? And so one of your questions were how we rolled it out ourselves. And really we sat down, we read a couple EOS books, Traction, Phoenix Project. I know there were more, but those were two big ones that were influences for us. And then a lot of Googling, right? And saying like, well, how do we work these pieces in and what works? And for a long time, we would have people that we talk to that say like, oh, you do EOS, we do EOS. We saw it on your website. How did you implement? Who was your implementer is one of the questions they'd ask. And we'd be like, well, it was us. And
it was like, Jason and Mike.
And then they'd be like, well, how are you doing it right? And we're like, we don't know. Like we are trying to structure it as best we can. And it's fun because we've kind of taken it and built it our own, which I feel like in the reading of EOS, that's wrong. You're supposed to subscribe very specifically to things.
Yeah.
But that's very InsITe brand, where we're like, we're going to go against the grain, right? We're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so for us, like, we've built out how we do our communications with one-on-ones, our Pulse or L10 meetings, our structure for like scorecards and making sure we have metrics.
Yeah.
And all of those have been great because it creates that consistency to know, what are we working on? Like, what are your metrics? What are your numbers? So that people feel like they are participating. At the end of the day, they can say, did I do the things that are most important?
Yeah.
Right. Mission, vision, like all of that stuff is great portion of it, but being able to give people a scorecard and a place to work on rocks so they feel like they're moving the company forward as well, it is huge for buy-in, right?
Yeah.
And getting employees to care.
Yeah.
And it also creates accountability for leadership, where it's like, here's what I'm working on, and you can call me on it if you don't see it or we don't finish it in those pieces. So that's most of the answers to your question, I think. Unless you want to circle back on any specific
No,
portion.
I kind of want to stay in the same vein of just maintaining visibility on both on the leadership side and then on the teammate side as well. I think something that's very unique about EOS is that it gives the availability or the opportunity for everyone's voice to be heard.
It does. Yep.
I want you to talk about that and the value of that piece specifically.
Yeah. The way I would lay it out is the structure of how we do EOS. So we have our EOS retreats once a year where we go through and we think super high level. Here's what we're building out. Here's our VTO. Here's our plans. And we then work them down. We'll have rocks for individuals. We'll have rocks that go and then break down into department leads, into departments, into people who are all pulling in the same direction. And so people have a voice on that side for the direction, because we communicate that out as we're breaking them down to say, this is what we came up with. Here's how you can help. Because when it comes down to it, the people at that ground level who are running with it, they're the ones living it day to day, and they will have perspective on it, right? And they'll say like, well, this is what I'm seeing from our clients, or these are the questions I'm getting. Here are the opportunities that people are asking for. And it can radically change what we're doing with those rocks. So I think that's one of the best ways I see, because it funnels up. But goals are also a piece of that as well. So it's like, if you have a brand new intern, it's like, here's their goal. How does that goal move up to the next level, and then feed into the next level, and feed into the next level, and feed into the next level? Because even, I'm picking on interns here, but if an intern would say like, this is difficult, I can't do this, you've uncovered something that is a route to accomplishing what your goal is, what your 3-year plan is. And I think that is one of the strongest pieces of it. On the flip side, I'd say just one-on-ones in general, being in an EOS style, are also a great place to get voices in, because then you can hear like what's going on, right? To bubble that up to the right places, so that leadership who can be more disconnected with day to day has an idea of what's going on. And that, again, is a great place to grab voices. So EOS helps us function in that with the structure to ask the right questions and funnel that from one-on-ones as a specific example up to what we're doing for the next 3-year plan with our rocks.
Yeah. Something that you had said was, if there's an intern and they've run into something hard and they've actually uncovered a route to an issue, right? I think something that's so unique about EOS and how it provides the voice to everyone is that if you are noticing a problem, or it is an issue, that you can create the issue, right? It's literally, it says IDS, which is identify, discuss, and solve, right? And so you create that issue, and you're like, hey, whether it's in a one-on-one or it's in your Pulse meeting or whatever, you have the ability to say, this is an issue, rather than sitting in yourself or trying to go over to your friend's desk or trying to go over to a teammate's office and saying, this is what I'm dealing with. Then you've got everybody, or it's just your one-on-one and your manager can help you out or whatever, or you've got everybody on your team and you're discussing and solving together, because it impacts your main goal. Even from a management perspective, I love that you can say, wait a second, this is an opportunity for not just us to learn, but everyone. So we're going to solve this together, and I'm going to shoot this issue over to our Pulse meeting. And I love that, because it gives the opportunity for communication, clear communication. If there's frustration and whatever it might be, you have an opportunity to drop that into IDS.
Agree.
And it creates that transparency that we were kind of insinuating in the beginning.
That's what I was going to say. It's a platform for you to voice what you need to, and transparency, and that really just helps everyone work in the same direction.
change. We love it, right?
Have to love it. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Especially being in a technology industry. Like if you're not into change and you can't move or you don't like to move fast, it can be difficult, right? And there are some people who are very good at their jobs in technology and understand technology very well, and change can be difficult for them at times.
Yep.
Talk to me about the complexities of EOS in moving an organization, in changing what once used to be hey, this is a meeting to hang out and talk about things to, hey, we're going to be really structured and we need to be structured to keep growing and moving.
Yeah. So something we've run into with EOS is it is very common with our issues to live in like day-to-day solving. So as a leadership team, when we meet once a week, we've got a list of IDSs, we vote, and it feels a lot of the time like we're just living in like we're solving these things, we're discussing them, we're coming up with the communication for them, but it is more difficult to get to that higher level to discuss like larger changes.
Sure.
And so we might be solving like, hey, man, how are we using AI in terms of our help desk, right? But there's a deeper conversation on that goes into, okay, now that we have thoughts about AI in our help desk, is that helping with triage? Is it just helping with like board maintenance? Could we eventually roll out something that actually can be a like entry level support, right? Like all those pieces. But there's a deeper conversation that is difficult. You have to be intentional to unlock as like financials related to that, right? Like, well, what are we doing with that? And so often with our pulses and stuff, when we're getting into like, wow, these are ideas and we should look at these things and we should discuss them, it doesn't always bring you a layer or two up to discuss, well, what is the change that happens then if we have AI doing triage for our tickets? Very niche example, but it is a good fundamental, like this is a conversation.
Yeah.
Or like our ICP, if we talk about what our ICP is and what we're doing to chase that and work with specific manufacturers in our area, for example, we don't talk about like what are the resources that they often need and what's the ramification if that's the bulk of what we're bringing in for net new clients, because we're talking about the specific how we're chasing that, not the impact it always has on us as a business.
Yeah.
And so I love EOS for so many of those pieces, but I would encourage for anyone listening, it's a really good step. If you're working in EOS, if you're not, taking that step away. For us, it's the retreats where we get away for usually a day, 2 days, and really talk about, let's move up 2 stages and talk about what's that impact, because those are the questions we need to think about as leaders, because it's fun to live and solve and chasing what's new, but it has impact and we need to solve that out. And that takes real intentionality.
Yeah. Yeah. Kind of the theme that we've been talking about here today so far has been consistency, right? And consistency in leadership and how you navigate emotion, but also consistency in systems specifically. Tell me how EOS drives consistency for InsITe and also for our clients.
I would go with the consistency portion is very similar to the 2 conversations ago we had, that is a platform for us to repeatedly look at and voice how we're feeling, what we're working on, what the topics are. But the one I want to focus on here is I think scorecards are what I like the consistency piece of. We know what our goals are and we are working on those, checking those in, and it forces you to critically think when you're missing them. In EOS, if you're missing a piece of your scorecard, you can create it as an IDS and discuss, like, is this a reoccurring thing? Is there a reason for it? Did we have half the staff out on vacation? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And so like that consistency for a company, I guess, is the lens I'd want to look at it at, that I think scorecards in that and how they're led by EOS is just a really valuable metric to make sure that you're marching in the right direction. You're going to that beat of the drum.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Something else that I love about the EOS model is that drives consistency is it's always pointing you towards the goals that will get you to your, 3, 5, 10-year plan.
Yeah.
And,
funnels down.
Yep. And then also inside of that, for employees, it also drives consistency because they know the expectation of the meeting.
Yep.
They're never like, are we going to get hammered with something that doesn't make sense in this pulse meeting? Or is it going to be kind of like a weird one-off? or what am I supposed to be doing in this meeting in general, they know, hey, we're going to go in, we're going to, talk about, hey, what's going on in the company, like headlines.
Yep.
We're going to have maybe a 2 or 3 minute, hey, this is my personal best or business best or whatever.
A way to connect.
Yep, absolutely. We're going to focus on, hey, this is where we're at in my metrics. And so it drives urgency into say, hey, my metrics are important to my gig and I want to make my job and I want to make sure that I'm contributing in that way, and not just making sure that I am, but seeing that I am contributing in that way.
Absolutely.
And then it boiling up to, hey, our issues. We've got to-dos that we're going to check in, and then we've got our IDSs or our issues that I want to talk about. And these issues will make a dent in our goal.
Yep.
And I love that because it will always drive to the mission.
Yep. And then taking that to the individual level, right? And saying like, hey, this employee, these are their goals and their specific goals, not just company goals, right? Like, what do they want? Do they want to make a certain amount of money? Do they want to have an advancement? Do they want to work in a different department? Do they want, like, all those pieces? Their day-to-day goals, their scorecards, their check-ins are how they're consistently working through towards that goal, but also the growth of the company. Like you're talking about with Rocks, where it's like, hey, your next position doesn't exist yet because I need to grow that department. Yeah. Help me grow that. Help hold others accountable so that we're hitting our scorecard so that we can invest in growing that department. So you can help me with these Rocks because it's what's going to unlock a new revenue stream, a new idea, something new we can get into so that they can move, right? So we can create opportunity for them. So the question you'd asked a while ago about the individual who's really in it for themselves, I think they actually flourish really well in an EOS system because it's a meritocracy where it's like, I can give you a goal, I can give you a vision, and I'm going to set you on a path and they're going to drive, right?
Like you go.
That's what they really wanted. Yeah. And I think that is unique about InsITe, that a lot of companies will talk about, like, we'll help you with that, we'll help you with training. But when it comes down to it in practice, I interview so many people that are like, yeah, they talk that, but they don't.
Well, and even in interviews, they're thinking, yeah, you can tell me blue sky, right? But when it comes down to brass tacks, is that really going to happen? Yeah. EOS helps it happen.
It absolutely does, right? And it's an expectation with our reviews, right? And so it all works together to create that consistency.
Yeah, agreed. All right. And I actually think I probably went in a little bit of reverse, and it would have created more tension and a better story to talk about this in the beginning. Okay. But let's talk about execution, consistency execution, right? What are the things that get in the way of a leader being consistent and being effective?
And I think selfishness is the answer that I liked at the beginning. Like, I think that is a portion of it. If we take the lens of like the individual, and I find for me, that's a piece of it where I'm like, I feel drained after tough conversations or having to put together a presentation or doing a podcast. Looks draining.
Selfishly, I'm not even going to apologize for that.
No, this is fun. And so I think that's a portion of it, but there's so much more to it. I don't know where to even start after that.
Yeah, I mean, that was the purpose for the question. I want to think...
It's a deep thought question.
Yeah, I want to think critically about that because the reality of it is having that question forefront in your mind will be able to allow you to answer the questions that will hopefully be able to serve your team. Yeah. And so for me, in my opinion, I think something that will... drive maybe an unhealth or lack of consistency. I like the term selfishness, but I also think, and it is a version of selfishness, but and I'm saying this because I do it. Yeah. I become task oriented. Sure. And so and I very naturally care for and care about people, but because I'm driven and I'm very goal oriented, I can be like, you're an obstacle. Like you're becoming an obstacle to me. And so I would say like priority oriented would be something that I need to probably challenge myself in and say, hey, is the person here a priority or have I become so goal oriented that I am running over people? Yeah. Right. And I think that's the stuff that I will consistently ask my teammates. Like I've gone to you, I've gone to Mike, hey, am I running people over here? Or is this person becoming an an obstacle to me, or am I not making them a priority here? And I think that in and of itself, if I'm not aware of my own tendency to use people, not on purpose, but because I want to hit the goal, can drive inconsistency in leadership at times, for sure.
That's very fair. That totally makes sense. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Confessions with Travis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a really common one, because there's a balance, right? Of like, I have responsibilities, and there are times where I know I let people down who want to come and talk about something. And it's like, I can't at this moment. And so like, how do you take the time to get the right mindset to be able to explain without too many words, this is my situation. I have to do this. Like, I care so much for you. You are my priority.
Yeah.
But this has snuck up now because I have maybe not got to it, or maybe it's just critically important for the company, or whatever it is. So you're right. People as the blocker, right? Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. And I think so it's kind of coming together here a little bit, because I think EOS does help drive priority, because there may be times where, you know, somebody's fish sandwich was stolen in the lunchroom. And you're like, hey man, like this goal right now needs attention. We'll talk about your fish sandwich, just not right now. Right. All that to say, you know, I think ensuring that our priorities are, hey, we need to do what's good for our people and our team, and that needs to make sense for InsITe as well, or the organization as well, is really, really helpful. The other thing that I wanted to touch on, but I kind of want to land the plane here, and you've given me enough time, and I'm really appreciative of that, is how EOS can drive success for our clients as well. And something that I wanted to highlight was the thing that I see in the EOS model is that it gives us an organized approach to continue servicing our clients well, in that it allows for us visibility to see, hey, this goal means that this resource has time, and we can resource allocate a little bit differently, or hey, this skill set is needed for this client. And so how can we make sure that the skill sets that we have are being utilized in a way that's going to service our clients to the best of our ability? And something that I love about that is it doesn't always look the same for clients. It oftentimes looks very different. And so I appreciate that, because it also gives our teammates opportunity to work together with somebody that they maybe wouldn't work together with at other MSPs or other organizations, and all that good stuff. So that's my soapbox for EOS and how it impacts the team. So one last question before we take off, and I do this for everybody. It's if you could give someone something for free, in your experience, in your thought process, the way that you lead people, if you could give somebody something for free today, what would your one piece of advice, or one thing for free, what would you give them?
I mean, ultimately, the tagline would just be serve selflessly as best you can. But the specifics of it are, if you look at the equation of like, where do you want to be in terms of if you give everything to somebody and it doesn't work out, like you have lived selflessly, you've tried to help them improve, and ultimately it doesn't work and they go somewhere else. Would you rather be on that side, or the side of I didn't do anything and they left, or they were here, they were successful? Like, that's how I look at it. And so when you're in those moments, you're angry, you're sad, you're frustrated, whatever it is, try to use that as motivation, because that's what motivates me to look and say, like, I want to be on the right side of I did what's right for the people around me. And I hope that's how I'm remembered. And I hope someday they take that and give that to somebody else. And it's just that like small piece of try to make the world around you a little better place. So serve selflessly maybe is the piece, which is boring. And people are like, well, yeah, that'd be nice if I could do that all the time. But try to find like what your motivation is in that. And so if it's improve the world, make that extra step every time.
Awesome. Well, Jason, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate you. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me here.
Awesome. Thanks, brother.